Oh, I could turn on
Okay.
questions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Surviving the Holidays Masterclass. I am so excited that you're here and to share this masterclass with you. I cannot wait to share all this information because there's so much that you can do throughout the holidays, and it's not just about cutting out food and not eating this and not eating that. It's about making smarter decisions about your time and about the foods that you're eating and how you're eating them. And so, one thing about me is that I'm not really going to tell you just eat the salad that's on the table for the holiday dinner, because that's not what I would do. And I would never tell you to do something that I wouldn't do. And so, personally, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays, partly because I love the food. Turkey, mashed potatoes, and stuffing are like my favorite things. And my family, we all enjoy a glass of wine while we eat dinner. And so, for me, I'm not going to tell you to completely cut out those things because I wouldn't do that either. And the holidays are a time where we gather around food and drink. And so instead of cutting everything out, these are just some suggestions to either take it or leave it about how you can keep taking care of yourself and feeling better during this holiday season. So, and making sure that you're able to enjoy your time with your family and your friends and the food that you're eating during the holiday season. So I would love if everybody wrote down in the chat where they're tuning in from, so we can get to know each other a little bit. I'm in Long Island right now, in New York. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear where everybody else is coming from. Arizona. Nice. California. Oh, I used to live there. Out of Chicago. Cool, cool. It's really great to see you guys. All right. So, like I said, the holidays are a time where we gather around food and drink. And if you're struggling with your health, it can be a really difficult time of the year to get through. And so, we're just going to talk about some tips that can help you get through this holiday season. And one thing is that during the holiday season, there's some studies that show that there's more unhealthy food that's consumed, including sweets. And then this last point here is that there's a decrease in vegetable intake. So we're eating less whole foods, and people are splurging more on more sweets and soda. And so we're eating all of these processed foods, and we're taking out the foods that are supposed to help us build our immunity, like all of our vitamins, all of our minerals. If we look at the things that build our vitamins or build our immune system, it's going to be things like vitamin A, zinc, and vitamin C. And those are all things that we get from whole foods. And so you'll see at this time of year, we're all at risk for getting colds more often. And a lot of us are sick more often just because we're putting things in our body that aren't building up our health and building up our immunity. And so there's also an increase in calories consumed because a lot of these things revolve around food, and there's no change in our energy expenditure. So we're not moving our body, we're not exercising, and we're not changing that. We're not doing that as much because whether it be we're too busy, we're stressed, we don't have time, or just we don't have the motivation because it's so dark out, the time change and everything just kind of adds up. So we end up feeling more like crap, we feel sluggish, we feel brain fogged, and we feel more tired. And it's harder to get through the holiday season when we're feeling like that. And symptoms like acid reflux or heartburn or dyspepsia, so upset stomach, are also increased during the holiday season because of some of the high calorie intake, and that those symptoms are no fun to deal with at a holiday party. And so during the holiday season, we're we have higher stress, and so our stress releases more stress hormones that are putting you at risk for decreased immunity and putting you at a higher risk for colds, like I talked about before. And we're eating less vegetables, which gives us less nutrients to build up our immunity. And the last thing you want is more stress from the cold that you're getting that's setting you back a few days, whether it be from work or holiday shopping, and making you miss your holiday parties. So let's talk about some ways that you and some steps that you can take to stay healthy this holiday season. The first one is going to be exercise. So, whether it be throughout the holiday season or on the day of holidays when you're seeing your family, you want to make sure that you are still exercising and continuing in that routine. And so, things that I recommend are making sure that you, on days where you're with your family after the holiday feast, go for a walk with your family, because studies have shown that walking after a meal, if you walk actually even before the meal, so 90 minutes before, 90 minutes after, walking for at least 20 minutes decreases the blood sugar spike that you would get without walking. And so all of the sugar that you ate and all of the carbs that you ate from that meal end up going to your muscles and used as fuel to get you through that walk, instead of hanging out in your blood and increasing your blood sugar. And our body does not like high blood sugar. So this puts us more at risk for type 2 diabetes. It puts us at risk for hormone dysregulation for us ladies. And it puts our body in a state of chronic stress. And so working on improving your blood sugar levels is vital in this holiday season. And so another thing I also encourage, especially with the thought in mind that you want to increase mindfulness, is to bring in a yoga practice if you don't have one already, because this brings some mindfulness and it also brings in some movement and stretching as well. Something that my family does often when we all get together is have some dance parties. We all dance around. And so this is a great way to help increase movement, increase your heart rate, and just get you moving after a big meal. And ways that you can help with your exercise routine throughout the holiday season to make sure that you're not missing your workouts during a time where there's more stress is making sure you add your workouts into your schedule so you don't miss them, and have them be a non-negotiable. Whether you sign up for a class at a Pilates studio or yoga studio, or you're working out from home, put it on your calendar so you hold yourself accountable, and it's on your schedule in order for you to stay consistent with that. And if you don't have time in your schedule to work out each day, break it down into a few small different pieces. Because if you are too busy throughout the day, you're not going to want to go home and do a big long workout. So you can break it down into different steps. For example, you can start the day off with some morning stretching, or you can go for a walk after lunch. And then once you get home from work, you can do just a 10-minute Pilates workout because you've already done so much throughout the day. And so those are some of my top tips to make sure that you are continuing your exercise routine throughout the holiday season. And then your routine. Along with your exercise routine, you want to make sure that your sleep routine and your daily routine are pretty much consistent. And so you want to keep this routine very consistent as much as you can throughout the holidays, because we all get thrown out of whack because of the time change. Everything, it just gets darker so much earlier, and we have so much to do that we sometimes forget some of the things that we do daily that help ground us and help us feel better, and those things get put out on the back burner. You want to make sure that you're waking up and going to sleep at the same time every day. Keeping that consistency helps with your circadian rhythm. If you're not familiar with your circadian rhythm, this is the 24-hour wake and sleep cycle that your body follows. Every single cell in your body follows the circadian rhythm, and your body thrives off of this routine. And when you change this routine and there's changes in your sleep cycle, your routine can throw off your melatonin, which is one of the hormones that regulates the circadian rhythm. And it can cause you to be out of sync and have issues with sleep, like insomnia or waking up throughout the night, not being able to sleep, and then just feeling super tired throughout the day. And so it's important to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day as much as you can. And according to the American Sleep Association, as adults, we need 7 hours of sleep per night. So they've done studies that shows that as adults, we function way better when we have 7 hours of sleep. So if you're not getting that 7 hours, you're not going to be functioning. You're not going to be in a good mood. You're not going to be able to feel awake and energized throughout the day. You're also putting yourself more at risk for colds this holiday season by decreasing the function of your immune system. And like I said, lack of sleep impacts your mood. And so let me know in the chat, how many of you guys wake up grumpy when you don't get enough sleep? You wake up in the morning and you're like super exhausted, and then any little thing just sets you off because you didn't sleep that well. Yeah, me too. Not sleeping enough throws me off. Me too. If I don't get my 7 hours, I am non-functional throughout the day. All right. And so what about traveling to different time zones in your sleep schedule? Because this can really throw off your sleep schedule and your circadian rhythm. And jet lag is a real thing. And so when you're crossing different time zones, this is something that can be a really big deal for all of us during the holidays, is when we're going to see family who lives in a different part of the country, we're not able to get enough rest and we're super exhausted that whole time. And it's just like we're a little foggy and we're not just fully present with those family members because of that lack of sleep. So these are some of the top things that I recommend when you are flying across the country into different time zones in order to make sure that you're getting adequate sleep, adequate rest, and that you're feeling less jet lagged after traveling. So you want to shift your sleep forward or backwards by 1 hour each day, depending on the time zone. So if you're traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, try to go to bed 1 hour earlier than you normally would. And then if you're traveling west to east, you want to go to sleep 1 hour later than you normally would, and then keep shifting that time back by 1 hour or forward by 1 hour, depending on which direction you're going into. And then melatonin can be a really useful tool for that as well. If you do 3 to 5 milligrams 1 hour before your bedtime, this can help stimulate your circadian rhythm and stimulate your body, like saying, hey, here is the hormone that is triggering sleep, and it is time for us to go to bed now. Another really big thing is to use blue light blocker glasses, or making sure that you're staying away from TVs or your phone for at least 2 hours before bed. So blue light actually blocks the melatonin production. The blue light gets into our eyes. It goes to our pineal gland, which is in our brain. And the pineal gland is the center that secretes melatonin. And so the blue light can block that secretion, and then we don't get good enough sleep because our circadian rhythm is getting out of whack, and you don't have that big increase of melatonin throughout the night that's saying, hey, it's nighttime, it's time to sleep. So you want to make sure that you're staying off of screens for at least 2 hours before bedtime, especially when traveling. And then one big thing that I always recommend for anybody, but when you're traveling, this can be very helpful, is making sure that you're getting outside in the morning. Exposing your eyes to sunlight 10 minutes within waking can help spike that morning cortisol, because cortisol is the other big hormone involved in your circadian rhythm. It is supposed to spike in the morning, and if you are in a different time zone, it can be shifted for you. And so going outside can help increase that spike and wake you up and give you a little bit more energy throughout the day. That's something I normally recommend to anybody, even if you're not traveling, but this can be helpful for travel as well. Then self-care. If you're running around stressed and frazzled and neglecting yourself, chances are you're going to hate the holiday season, and you're going to be more Grinch-like, and you're not going to have much of that holiday cheer. So making sure that you're continuing to practice your self-care is going to be a great way to decrease stress. And when you're running on fumes, you're going to be more susceptible to colds, flus, and you'll be more exhausted. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but right now there is a big pattern that putting off your things that you we often put off a lot of these things like exercise, eating healthy, and our self-care. We put those off during the holiday season, and this is the time that colds and flus go rampant. And these are the things that help build up our immune system that we end up ignoring throughout the holiday season. So I'm not sure if you noticed that pattern there. And so you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because after all, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And one thing that I recommend is a meditation practice. Your breathing really helps to stimulate and balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So taking a big inhale stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight center. And then taking a big exhale stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest center. And so doing meditations and deep breathing allows you to focus on your breath, release tension from your body, and can also, hold on one second. And also can just help release tension from your body. You can also incorporate some like stretching or dry brushing that I'll go over in a few slides. And then massages. There's a reason why we're all obsessed with massages. It's because they are great at releasing tension and releasing stress. So if you're feeling extra stressed, it may be a perfect time for you to book that massage you've been putting off for months. This right here is just a diagram just to show you and talk a little bit more about diaphragmatic breathing. So if you've ever heard of diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing, they are essentially the same thing. And it's a really important part of our breath and meditation. And so this right here is the diaphragm at the bottom of your lungs. And the diaphragm is a muscle that's located below your lungs. It's kind of like a rubber band. That's how I describe it, because it pulls down and it goes down when you inhale to create more space for the air inside your lungs. And then once you exhale, it releases and it pushes up to help push that air out of your lungs. And if you've ever tried breathing exercises, you may have heard of belly breathing before. And so it's because when you're breathing deeper and you're using your diaphragm, your belly's going to move more than your chest, because essentially you're not supposed to be using the muscles in your chest to breathe. You're supposed to be using your diaphragm. That's the main breathing muscle in our body. And so when you use your diaphragm, this is the proper breathing technique. But there has been a shift in humans that have made us breathe more from our chest and our shoulders than our diaphragm. And so this doesn't allow us to get a full breath in, and it doesn't allow us to fully exhale. And so we're not getting all of the amazing benefits of our breath. And there can be I can do a whole masterclass, I swear, on just proper breathing techniques and some of the benefits with making sure that you're using your diaphragm to breathe, and the disadvantages and some of the symptoms that can come up when you're not using your diaphragm to breathe. That can literally be a whole masterclass in itself. But essentially, you just want to make sure that you're using your diaphragm and you're doing more belly breathing instead of chest breathing, because it can you get so much more of a benefit from those breaths. And it can be hard to make sure that you're activating your diaphragm just because we're so used to using our shoulders and our chest. And so if you're new to diaphragmatic breathing, one thing that I recommend is something called cactus arms. And so you in Arizona, the people tuning in from Arizona will love this, but if you've ever seen those cactuses that kind of like both have two little arms coming out, so you're going to put your arms out like this. And this helps to stimulate the diaphragm. And so you'll notice that you're breathing a little bit more from your belly as opposed to your chest when you do this. And you can do this sitting up, or you can do it laying down. I like to do it laying down, just because you don't have to hold your arms up the whole time. And so this really helps with the movement of your diaphragm moving up and down as you take a breath. which is pretty cool. And did you guys notice? You can throw in the chat. Did you notice any difference in your breathing? Yeah. Okay. I know it's pretty cool. There's a few other different positions. So if this doesn't work for you and you're looking for another position, I can guide you through it. But this is one of the main ones that I found most people enjoy. And it's a lot easier to explain. So you can do this while you're sitting up or laying down, and it just really helps to stimulate your diaphragm. All right, and dry brushing. If you know me, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I'm obsessed with dry brushing. There's so many different benefits to dry brushing. It increases energy, it exfoliates the skin, it helps with detoxification, it supports your immune system, it stimulates the lymphatic fluid. It just calms your nervous system. And so this can be done every day before your shower. It's just a little self-care that you can do every day that has so many different benefits to it. And you really just take a natural bristle brush and you start at your feet and you work your brush your legs and work your way up, and you just go from the furthest points of your body to the closest parts of your body, and you bring everything to your heart. All right. And then hydration. Hydration is a really big thing for the winter. It is so important to make sure that you're staying hydrated during the winter. And while we're talking about water, I'm going to take a sip of mine. Okay. So in the summer months, we all tend to hydrate way more just because it's so hot out and we're sweating. And so we notice that we're thirsty more and that we need more water because we are seeing that reaction to our body to the heat. But we can forget to drink that same amount of water in the winter months because it's colder and we're not sweating as much. So we're not seeing that exchange in water to the environment from our inside body. And it's drinking half your body weight in ounces. It's easy to become dehydrated in the winter. Sorry, hold on. Let me say that again. So it's easy to become dehydrated in the winter because cold air doesn't hold as much moisture and as warm air does. And so it's not as humid out, and the water is drawn from your body more because it's going to go from more water to less water. And indoor temperatures are warmer and drier, decreasing the humidity, and it draws out more water. But we end up not replacing that water as much. And so you're going to end up being dehydrated. And since we talked about travel and jet lag earlier, this is another thing, is that if you're traveling by plane, one thing to keep in mind this winter is that airplane cabin humidity can be as low as 1%. So airplane cabin humidity can be from 1% to 20% humidity. And so just to give you a little context for the average humidities in different areas of the country, New England ranges from 60 to 80% humidity throughout the year. Arizona and then the California desert is as low as 25%. So that's as generally as low as the states in the US goes, 25%. And so a plane can get down to 1%, and it doesn't even get to as dry as it is in Arizona. So for you in Arizona, talking about the dry heat and the dry weather there, the plane is even drier than the weather that you're used to. So this lack of moisture in the air is pulling out the moisture from your body when you're traveling by plane. And so one of the big contributors to jet lag is dehydration. So you want to make sure that you are staying hydrated throughout your travels, drinking water before you get on the plane, drinking water while you're on the plane, and making sure you're hydrating when you get off. And so not drinking enough water can be connected to fatigue. It can be connected to headaches, dry skin, irritability, and even constipation if you're not getting enough water. And so another thing to remember during the holiday season is that alcohol and caffeine dehydrate you, and you want to make sure that you replenish the water that you're getting, that you You want to make sure that you're replenishing with water on the days that you're drinking or having more caffeine. And so some tips. Make sure that you're drinking water even when you're not thirsty. Sometimes we could be dehydrated and we may just not even have that signal that like, hey, my mouth's dry, I need water. So that's not always the best telltale sign of lack of hydration. You want to make sure that you're replenishing with electrolytes, whether it be electrolyte drops, electrolyte powders, or electrolyte, or just even putting in some salt in your water in the morning to help replenish some of those electrolytes that you lost overnight. And then some herbal teas or fruit infused waters. So, herbal teas can change the taste of your water. So, you're not just drinking boring old water all the time. Sometimes I understand that like water gets old and you want to change it up a little bit. I'd love to hear from all of you. What are your favorite herbal teas, if you have one? Um, no one has any herbal teas? Well, I'll tell you one of mine. Chamomile, that's a good one. I love chamomile. Very calming. Peppermint is a good one too. Both of those are they're really great. Chamomile is very calming, and peppermint is one of my favorite ones for bloating. And I'm going to talk a little bit about peppermint in a few slides when we talk about bloating and how you can use that as a tea to help you de-bloat. Um, but yeah, one of my favorite ones is ginger. And ginger is a very warming herb, and I always drink this in the morning, lemon ginger tea, just because it warms me up after getting out of bed and it's anti-inflammatory. It also is another herb that can help you de-bloat. And so it just helps you hydrate in a different way other than just drinking plain old water. And you can switch it up, have a few different teas throughout the day, and have some fun with it. And then make sure you can also incorporate food with high water content. So whether that be cucumbers, berries, generally a lot of different fruits. Then what can you do about all of the food? So we eat so much food all throughout the holidays. And so these are some of my top tips in getting through holiday feasts, if we want to call it that. So make sure that you don't fill up on appetizers beforehand because there can be so many appetizers out there that you can end up eating a ton and then you're like, oh crap, it's time for dinner. I'm so full because I ate all of those cheese and crackers and I didn't stop. Um, Another big tip of mine is don't skip breakfast. So I know in our house when I was growing up, I feel like we would always um, skip breakfast on holidays and we would never eat that morning of. And so then we would get to our family's house and it was like, oh my God, I'm starving. So then we'd either eat a ton of appetizers and fill up on that, or we would eat a lot of the holiday food because we were just so hungry. And so doing this sets you up for more irregularities in your blood sugar for the rest of the day. So you're going to be super hungry by the time that dinner is served that you're going to end up overeating and you're going to feel so full. And you're going to like be so or like you're going to want to unbutton your pants because you just like can't breathe. And then one of my other tips is make sure that you're enjoying the food that you eat without guilt. You're here to enjoy the holidays. Don't feel guilty and just enjoy the food that you're eating while you're eating it. And remember that you can always go back for seconds. You don't need to pile on all of the food on your plate. You can always come back for seconds. And before grabbing seconds, I would recommend waiting about 10 minutes before, just because it takes a few minutes for your stomach to release the hormones saying it's full. And those hormones take a little while to travel to your brain to tell you, hey, I'm done. I don't need any more food. I'm full down here. So just wait about 10 minutes before you go and grab your seconds. And then another recommendation is to practice mindful eating. So let's talk about that. I always recommend mindful eating to everybody because this is something we've kind of walked away from. And so digestion is more than what happens in your stomach and in your intestines. Digestion really starts when you get your food. It starts with you looking at your food, smelling your food, like I talked about here. So there's so many different things that go into digestion that we don't even realize anymore. So it starts with your eyes, it starts with looking at your food, and then it also another part of digestion is in your mouth. So making sure that you're completely chewing your food, and because this is a really big part of breaking it down. There's so many enzymes in your mouth that help break down the food, and then your teeth chewing the food is also manually breaking the food down as well. And using all of your senses, Thanksgiving, for example, is one of, I feel like all the food is just so colorful. So before you eat, take a look at your plate. What are the colors that are on your food? Because chances are you're going to have at least 4 or 5 colors on there. You're going to have some oranges from the sweet potatoes and carrots, green Brussels sprouts or broccoli or green beans. You may have some bright red cranberries, and all these are all different colors that you can take note on when you look at your plate. Alcohol. So avoid drinking alcohol on an empty stomach. Alcohol stimulates hunger and triggers you to eat more. So if you are drinking more alcohol, then chances are you may tend to overeat while you're drinking. And then don't overdo it on the alcohol, because that tends to be something that happens during the holiday season, is that people end up over drinking. And then, yeah, we all know that can be a whole conversation for another day. But on another note, drinking wine before a meal can have a really good impact on your blood sugar. So having a glass or two of wine before a meal has been shown to help support and decrease that blood sugar spike after eating. So if you remember back to when we were talking about walking um, after a meal and supporting blood sugar, this also does something similar, and it helps decrease the blood sugar after eating. And what about bloating? So you want to keep in mind that if you tend to lean more towards bloating, you want to eat slowly. And so we talked about mindful eating earlier, and so you just want to take in some of those tips and make sure that you eat slowly. You take your time to chew, and don't just chew, swallow. Make sure that you're chewing your food into a paste in order to help your whole digestive system do less work when it's trying to digest. And then if you're not chewing enough, this is just going to cause a burden to the rest of your digestive tract, and everything else is just going to have to do so much work. And then limit drinks during dinner. Drinking a lot of fluid before meals and during meals can help or can decrease the stomach acid and help bring on more bloating. So this is something that I feel like a lot of people have been told is like drinking water, a big glass of water before your meals helps you feel more full. But in reality, it's just going to help you feel bloated. And because you're decreasing that stomach acid, you're diluting that stomach acid, and that stomach acid isn't able to do its job, which is to break down the food. And then everything's going to get into your small intestine. It's not going to be broken down enough, and you're going to end up feeling more bloated and more crappy and worse by the end of that meal, because you need stomach acid to break down your food. And some of my other tips for bloating is to use bitters before meals. You can put bitters in a little shot glass of water to help stimulate the release of digestive enzymes and stomach acid that will help to break down your food. You also could take just regular general digestive enzymes. If you're feeling bloated after meals, some of my favorite recommendations is to do a debloat tea. So we talked about chamomile before and peppermint. Both of those herbs are really great at helping support bloating and helping support to make sure that you're not bloated, or to get rid of bloating, because they are carminatives, which means that they help coordinate the movements of your intestines to help decrease the pain that comes with bloating, and it also helps get the gas out. And so my favorites are, if you wanted a combination that has a combination. It's Belly Comfort by Traditional Medicinals. And so this is peppermint, ginger, and fennel. Those are all I don't know why I can't talk right now. Those are all carminatives. And then you also, if you wanted to do just something by itself, you can do chamomile, or you can do peppermint, or you can do fennel. And then a stomach massage is a really great way to help get some of the gas moving and help bloating as well. So if you're watching this recording, you can pause this, but I'll talk you through it. So doing a deep bloat massage is pretty easy, and you're going to start on the left side of your stomach, and you're going to go from your rib cage down to your hip bone, and you're going to just massage that about 4 times. And you're going to want to do this actually while you're laying down, and you're going to want to use a lotion or an oil to make that massage a little bit easier. And so you're going to massage the left side of your stomach 4 times, and then you're going to incorporate, so you're going to be going down, and then you're going to want to go this way and then down. So you're going to go from the right side of your rib cage to the left side of your rib cage and then down. You're going to do both of those movements 4 times. And then you're going to go to your right side. So you're going to go from your right hip bone all the way up, across, and down. And so you're going to make this little upside down U shape or horseshoe shape with your stomach, and you're going to just massage this your whole abdomen about 4 times, or as many times as you feel like is necessary. And then we did talk a little bit about heartburn at the beginning. That heartburn is a big symptom that comes around because of the high calorie intake and some of the foods that we're eating during the holiday season. So just keep some of these things in mind, that taking Tums for your heartburn can make the problem worse because it's going to decrease your stomach acid. And sometimes the cause of heartburn is usually low stomach acid, not enough stomach acid anyway, so you're just diluting the stomach acid and making the problem worse. And then the next would be to take note of some of the, these are some of the common triggers, and take note of how your body reacts to these. And maybe during the holiday season, reduce those foods or stay away from those foods. So caffeine, tomatoes, chocolate, dairy, alcohol, nicotine, citrus, and carbonated beverages, those all can aggravate heartburn. And so if that's a problem for you, you may want to just avoid them during the holiday season. A few other big things that you could be doing is to make sure that you're not laying down after eating, especially those big meals. You don't want to be laying down after that. You want to limit your fluids at meals. So just like bloating can be worse with a lot of fluids during meals, you also can get some heartburn after that by doing that as well. And then don't overeat. So like I said, make sure that if you want to go for seconds, take a few minutes and wait to see how your body feels after some time to digest. And then you also can incorporate some bitters, some apple cider vinegar to help increase your stomach acid and increase the presence of your digestive enzymes. And then one of my favorites, in replacements of Tums, this is more of something that helps decrease the symptoms. It's called DGL Chews. So it's deglycerinized licorice. And so licorice is a demulcent herb which helps soothe and calm irritated and inflamed tissues. So by taking this little chewable licorice, it helps soothe some of that heartburn and decrease some of that inflammation. And it kind of it's similar to Tums in a way that it helps decrease heartburn, but it does it in a way that doesn't dilute and decrease your stomach acid and make the problem worse. It's an herb that has been shown to help soothe and help the heartburn. So those are some of my top tips for heartburn. And that's all I have for you all today. Thank you so much for being here. I was so happy to share this masterclass with you. I hope you had as much fun as I did. It was great seeing you all, and I hope you have a very happy holiday season.